Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 10th of March, 2019. It's our European and UK News Day,
which, since our government decided to make it 2 weeks earlier, the UK hasn't gone yet.
Right, so it's daylight savings time, and so we decided that it would only be fitting to go live at the 2 o'clock time so that they would still be able to be here
at the original, at the right time.
Oh my gosh. Oh, speaking of it being the 10th, it's the day before your birthday. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't have any surprises because every year I always try to do a surprise, but I don't have a surprise. But I want to tell you one of the surprises that I was going to do. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do it at some point, but now it just can't be for your birthday. I'm going to make a new intro. I think it'd be really fun. I have a couple of ideas. So I watch a lot of other people's intros.
You want really like cool smiley faces and like little clips of our talking.
Yeah, that like professional. Yeah, I want it to look a little bit more professional than what we have. But here's my conundrum with that.
Yeah. You like it.
Ours is super short.
Yeah.
And I like that it's short. It goes right into the show. Like, I can't imagine having to sit here for an extra, 15 seconds.
Nope.
For a longer introduction. I don't know what we're going to do. So,
speaking of long introductions, Brexit's the longest introduction known to mankind here. We're going to not have it. As everybody's showing up, maybe I'll start talking before I play Mr.
Yeah, wait.
Nigel
Finn. Nigel.
So, Maia's in a conundrum right now between, she's saying if you don't take her deal, then it will definitely be
bad for no deal.
No deal.
No. If you don't take her deal, she's saying it's going to be no deal if you don't take her deal?
She's saying,
or she's saying she's going to
no Brexit.
No Brexit.
Yeah.
So they just won't leave on the 29th is what she's saying.
So May's Brexit deal, though, is set to be defeated by 100 votes.
Really?
She is back custom union. So the government sources believe that Prime Minister Theresa May's withdrawal agreement could lose by 100 points. While unelected votes. I said points.
You did.
Points.
It's a point system.
I've literally read points. While unelected peers in the House of Lords have voted in favor of Brexit Britain staying in a customs union with the EU. Mrs. May was defeated, remember, by a record 230 votes when it was last voted on. So I guess she's going to make a major speech on Friday to ask for her support from her MPs ahead of the vote.
Out loud.
In a bid to stop Remainer ministers from resigning en masse, Mrs. May agreed last week to a set of concessions which would result in ruling out a clean no deal. Which is what everybody was kind of like hoping for, even for me, for you guys in the UK, and for all of Europe. I was kind of like, listen, this is great. No deal is going to be the best for you. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Just start over. Start fresh. And then as somebody said, how about we don't change anything right away? We slowly make changes.
It's such a sound-minded... it's not even a proposal. That's what has to happen.
Right.
That's the deal.
If she loses her second meaningful vote on the withdrawal agreement on the 12th of March, the House of Commons will then be asked to vote on the following day, Wednesday, whether to take no deal off the table. I know. A move Brexiteers maintain will weaken London's negotiating hand with Brussels even further. So really puts you in a conundrum.
You know what that is, though? It feels like... You know what that feels like, though? It feels like a second referendum, that vote, where the people don't actually get to vote on Brexit. That taking no deal off the table is... Because they could just keep kicking this can down the road forever.
The idea was, this is what I understood, and everybody I think understood to be, if you didn't have a deal, you had no deal. You didn't vote to take no deal off the table because then you're still stuck with trying to make a deal.
Yeah.
So then it's no deal. Then you're down to
there's either a deadline,
no Brexit, or
and that's the thing, because they're saying, what's the point of having a deadline? What's the point of March 29th?
Right.
If you're going to take no deal off the table. The reason why there's a deadline is because you're saying, listen, if we reach March 29th and there's no deal, then we have no deal and we leave anyway.
Right.
Under WTO terms. It's that simple.
In the likely event the Europhile-dominated Commons rules out a clean Brexit, they will be asked on Thursday to extend Article 50. However, government sources have told the newspaper that in face of another defeat, it is not impossible that Downing Street could hold a third vote, particularly if Mrs May loses the second by a majority of less than 60. The third vote will likely be held the week beginning of March
18th, 11 days before Brexit. Mrs May received backing from her colleagues to seek legal assurances from Brussels that the controversial backstop only be temporary in order to make her deal acceptable to lawmakers in the second vote. However, Britain's Attorney General Geoffrey Cox returned from Brussels on Wednesday, telling the media that negotiations with the European Union have been difficult and no solution has been identified to that is consistent with the withdrawal agreement, including the Northern Ireland Protocol, which, as you know, will not be reopened. The government then announced that it had established 3 advisory joint UK and EU groups to find a solution to the backstop, with a spokesman for the Department of Exiting the European Union, DXXEU, telling Rodgers there is clear support for finding alternative arrangements to ensure there is no hard border on the island of Ireland. Also on Wednesday, peers in the unelected House of Lords vetoed the government's trade bill 207 to 141, calling the House of Commons to back the United Kingdom joining an EU customs union. So the House of Lords wants to tell you what to do as well.
Pause.
Yes.
I started out and the little microphone wasn't on. We weren't silent. We were just under the audio of the laptop, and everybody was telling me it sounded horrible, and so it's fixed. Sorry. And that makes me feel better that we actually bought this microphone a long time ago.
Oh, sure.
Because it actually makes the audio much better.
Okay.
Sound like we're in an echo chamber.
So Nigel has a little clip for us. It's time to fight back. Go to London March 29th. There's going to be a big march. I want all of you in the entire UK and surrounding areas just to support your Brexiteer friends. If you can make your way into the UK, I want everyone to be there March 29th.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something interesting. That this coming vote that you just told everybody about is going to shape vastly what this march will be.
March the 29th is supposed to be one of the big days in our national story. It's the day that we should be leaving and becoming an independent country. But there's a problem. They're called politicians, and they do not want us genuinely to leave the European Union. They want to stop it, water it down, delay it. They think they can walk all over us. Well, we are going to march back and deliver a message. Do you remember that great result from Sunderland? Suddenly we saw a big Leave vote. We realised it was possible. We could win the referendum. We, on Saturday, the 16th of March, at 8:45 in the morning, will be leaving Sunderland, and we're marching all the way to London. Well, I'm doing some of it, not all of it, but I'll be there in Sunderland on that day. And that march, all the way down the route, if you want to go and visit, support, meet our marchers, meet our supporting politicians and celebrities, you can go to marchtoleave.com and find out all of the details. We're going to finish up in Parliament Square on the 29th of March. I want as many of you as possibly can come, show your support along the way, on that day. Help us in whatever way you can. This is us, the people, against the political class. We need your support, we need your money, we need your help. And you know something? In the end, we are going to win this battle. But if we're betrayed in a few days' time by Parliament, which looks likely, we need to be there in Parliament Square, shouting loudly, telling them we will not put up with this.
So, and I agree with this comment here from Mike. He says protests are needed before March 29th. March 29th is the day that they are supposed to leave with no deal, in my humble opinion. Okay, no deal, you leave. You're gone.
So, there's the March to Leave. Leave means leave. We'll email you about campaigns, events, and opportunities. So, become a member. March to Sutherland. Here's the It is now clear that Westminster elite are preparing to betray the will of the people over Brexit. To counter this, Leave means leave are undertaking a peaceful protest to demonstrate the depth and breadth of popular discontent with the way Brexit has been handled. The UK has a long history of successful popular protests with the establishment, where the establishment has been forced to deliver a much-needed reform. Why are we marching? And then 17 million people voted to leave the EU in the EU referendum. Now, speaking of the EU referendum, not only did you guys get Obama over there telling you that you needed to
not have Brexit.
Yeah, but let me find this
Not
one
leave
because
the European Union.
this is not funny to
I
me.
like what Stuart the Brit says. Watch the British police start closing roads off and sudden roadworks all over the route.
Al
jeez.
Gore.
It's hard for me to look at that face.
I know. Brands the UK politicians as cowards for not forcing a second Brexit referendum. How is it cowardly not to deliver the will of the people? And what good is the second referendum unless they are guaranteed that they're going to rig it or something?
Yeah, exactly. Because people are going to vote the same way. People have
It
not.
sounds like Hillary Clinton.
I know.
Why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might say? This was my election. This is my election. We're going to vote again and again and again and again until you vote for me.
Right.
We're going to have a third referendum and a fourth referendum and a fifth referendum. And we're just going to keep having referendums until you do what I say or until I get my little numbers on the buttons until we decide to stay in the European Union because that's what fascists do.
Right.
They control. And they tell you, you don't know what you're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Guy Verhofstadt. And he wants to tell you that you don't know what you're talking about. You know what he said? I'm going to get to that, but I'm going to get to this too. But I have to tell you my punchline because he said,
Get it.
we have to take down the rise of populism. And he blames it, the rise of populism and nationalism and anti-EU sentiment, Islamophobia, on the internet. We have to control the internet. We have to control what the people think and what the people know because the rise of populism is blamed on the internet. And if there was no internet, then we would have super control.
It's true.
There'd be no problem.
It would be.
The darn internet? People thinking for themselves? Hitler would ban the internet, so why can't we? Banning it. All right, Al Gore. He has branded British politicians as cowards for failing to push their voters into a rerun of the 2016 referendum on Britain's membership of the European Union.
Wow.
Speaking at the climate change leadership, remember, you're supposed to be dead right now. According to Al Gore, who has, 2-3 giant multi-million-dollar homes. His electricity runs like $2,000 a month or something like that. Pumping it out, baby. He is just like using that juice. Telling you you're killing the environment.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So, global warming man himself at the climate change leadership, shouldn't he have been barred from ever speaking again with his little documentary, Global Warming? And now it's like, well, because it's kind of cold places too, we have to call it climate change so that whenever anything happens, we can blame it on it literally is aliens. They're blaming it on aliens because this whole carbon footprint is like, listen, if you had some issues like, hey, I am flooding in my basement, I'm going to go blame the Russians. Wouldn't you just do something about it?
I think the Russians have an interest in flooding people's basements.
So, he was in Portugal. He's 70 years old. He took aim at the infamous Breaking Point poster.
Is he 70 already?
I know. By Brexit campaign leader Nigel Farage. Attacking Nigel Farage. Because people like him, nobody likes you.
Don't touch him.
At the height of the campaign, showing a huge column of illegal migrants pouring through the continent's borders in late 2015, one of the most powerful posters of Brexit campaign was the one that showed an endless line of refugees saying the EU failed, Gore told his host, although in fact, the legends read, the EU has failed us all. Here, breaking point, the EU has failed us all. I do not want to get into the issue, but as a politician, I will say I think politicians of the United Kingdom are cowards for not allowing a second referendum, suggesting that many migrants, many of whom turned out to be violent criminals or even radical Islamic terrorists, boom, boom. Anybody hear that? That's not the sound of like a bunch of rappers going into the UK. I'm talking about suicide bombs going off and rock concerts. He says that they're fleeing the daggum climate change, and it's all climate's fault.
Stop it.
Because the men are more affected by the climate change than the women. And it's always the men between the 20 and the 30s that are most affected by the climate change. So, they just said climate is changing them, and they're like, I got to go, baby. And you know what? They're not even, listen, I got to hand it to the Mexican migrants who do what? They come here, they work, they send money back. These boys coming in here, they ain't working, sending money back. They're like, bye-bye, mama, bye-bye, sister, bye-bye, well, I'm leaving, y'all. See you later. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? It's like, bye. Bye. They ain't working. They're not like raise your hand. Are they landscaping? Are they putting roofs on? Are they picking your strawberries? Because guess what? The Mexican men are working their tushies off when they come here. And I have to hand it to them. At least they're working and care about their families. They are sending money back.
And they're actually trying to get their families here. I don't see these people trying to get their families here.
Well, they do. Okay, so the multimillionaire did not press the issue of Brexit, however, explaining, I have enough problems in my country with the crazy Trump. Crazy Trump, you were vice president under Clinton. He had a wife. You might as well just call her Crazy Clinton. So, listen, no one likes you. Al Gore should put you in the towel.
He's irrelevant now, and I think that's why he tries to keep it, to maintain his relevancy. So BritBoss says, Michelle, 44% of Brits want to leave with no deal because of the dictatorial way Barnier and the rest of the EU bureaucrats are behaving over the withdrawal agreement against the UK.
I do not, disagree. I don't blame them.
Oh my gosh.
Hard but smart Brexit would not put British in worse position than EU, admits German economists. You can say it. Top economists in Germany's IFO Institute have admitted that a no-deal Brexit or a hard Brexit, according to detractors, or clean Brexit, according to proponents, would not leave the United Kingdom any worse off than the European Union unless it was executed extremely poorly.
Okay, so I fear for these guys' lives in Germany. Like, I'm serious. Like, doors are going to be, like, blown down. They're going to be arrested or, you know what, suicided.
In the case of a hard Brexit, would the UK really apply the high EU external tariffs and carry out elaborate physical checks on the borders? Asked Gabriel Fellmeier, director of the German think tank, in a report covered by the Telegraph newspaper. Such a strategy would be hardly rational for London and technically perhaps not even feasible, he said. The UK would likely unilaterally abandon all new barriers with a hard but smart strategy. This fundamentally changes the negotiation situation. He pointed out...
Fellmeier.
There you go. Pointed out that under this hard but smart scenario, the British would experience no supply shortages because all goods and services would simply be waved through.
Right.
Holding the threats of food, medicine, and even condoms in the event of no deal, which are often issued by British Europhiles. Remember, STDs would rise.
Do you guys remember that? We covered that on our show so many times. If you weren't watching Resistance Chicks back then, like last year, they were literally saying that STDs were going to be on a rise. They were saying if the UK leaves the European Union, there wouldn't be sandwiches. No sandwiches. I think I would be more concerned about not having sandwiches.
Okay, here. There would also be no traffic jams on the French side of the English Channel or in Ostend. The snakes would be on the British side, caused solely by the EU. The lovers of Scotch and cheddar cheese, and what is more important in the EU, important statistics, the supplier of intermediate products in the industry would see higher prices and express their displeasure quickly and clearly, especially since these effects did not occur in Britain. Such a Brexit would not fundamentally put the British in a worse position than the EU itself. The analysts suggest the EU Commission should not stubbornly commit to the London unacceptable exit agreement, but constructively work out alternatives. The evidence suggests that the British government is indeed preparing for a hard but smart strategy for no deal. The efforts of EU loyalists among the ministerial ranks to take no deal off the table notwithstanding, with reports indicating that the Department of International Trade intends to cut between 80 and 90% of all tariffs if negotiations founder and a clean break with the EU takes place. So basically what they're saying is, listen, we're not going to enforce these giant tariffs. Right. We're just going to keep trade flowing, and then we're going to work on tariffs. We're going to build them up. We're going to see what works and what doesn't work. Right. You know, if you need to bring in your French wine, we bring our French wine. If people want, you work it out. That's what countries do. Right. Again, I think it bears repeating every single time. The UK, especially England, is a bastion of intelligence. I don't know what happened. Great thinking minds come out of England, come out of the UK. Yeah. Thinkers, they can solve problems.
John Locke.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Some of the most intelligent people in modern history, modern Western civilization. So if you can't figure this out, you got bigger problems because you had it working before 1970.
Well, and here's the deal. I mean, they
You
wouldn't
had
be
it
exiting.
working.
No deal isn't exactly no deal. It's no deal with the EU, but as
Right.
far as trade and stuff like that goes, they do have the World Trade Organization terms. Okay, so it's not like
What about Canada? What about Australia?
I mean, come on. It's not like. So they're overthinking this. The reason they're not stalling because they don't think it's going to be executed well. They're stalling because they realize that there's a finality there.
They just want to remain, and that's it.
That's exactly. They're going to keep
Right.
kicking the can down the road until they get that second referendum.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. To see now, this article seems to be it sounded a little bit more hopeful because it indicated that
Everything's going to be fine.
they are preparing for a no deal.
Well, yeah, and we reported on that before. They are preparing, but they're not letting you know, right? They just want the public to be like, no sandwiches, STDs, right? So Nigel says 35 minutes ago, he says, bad news for Westminster if the establishment delay Brexit and European elections take place. And this is Catherine Blaylock, BP, says new MBG polling reported in the Mail on Sunday has Tories voting for the Brexit Party UK.
Wow.
Definitely or very likely to vote BP, Brexit Party. Tory supporters 37%, Labour 24%, UKIP 71%, and even in London 39% are looking at voting for us.
Wow.
And I did see that that this Brexit Party, as Nigel is pulling it together, you got to hand it to him. This guy is smart. I have goosebumps. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just
because this is I think our little talk show here is about discussion, and somebody had, as soon as we put Nigel up there, they're upset, right? I get it. So I get that there are people that are upset about Nigel because of Tommy. And I'm going to do this really quickly. You guys, Nigel's deal is Brexit. Nigel's deal is, and his responsibility is not to back and support Tommy. It's not to back and support anybody. It's literally to get Brexit through. So that has to be his focus 100%. And if he feels that supporting Tommy would threaten that, that's between Nigel and God and his own conscience. And if you can't still support Nigel, then what you're saying is that you don't care about Brexit. Like, Nigel is putting Brexit number one, because if you don't get Brexit, these migrants are going to keep flooding in because the EU says the EU is trying to force Poland and Hungary and everybody to keep taking them in. Okay, so it's counterproductive to be against Nigel. It's only productive to support him. But you can be upset and you can be like, oh, dude, I wish you hadn't done that. But you still have to recognize who Nigel is.
Right. From Leave Means Leave, their little Twitter page here. Parliament put the question to us. Now MPs don't like the answer. They're doing all they can to wriggle out of it. Don't let them. Join us on Parliament Square. That was March 29th, and again the march on next Sunday, the 16th.
What happens is that the British people who voted for this, and a large number of Remainers who didn't vote for it but still think it should be carried through because they believe in democracy, will see a government
And you know what?
walking away.
Here for those people. I got to say, there are a lot of people who voted Remain who say get on with it. The vote was done, and I have to, and I get goosebumps thinking about it because these people, they're like literally fair and square. Let's just be done with it.
Right.
Okay, this is fair and square. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Well,
and
you
I
know
think
what, though?
inwardly they do want the freedom.
They just don't want people to know.
I voted stay, but
I
no.
voted Remain, but it's the people's vote. They voted, and it's that way they get to save face on one hand and then still be pro democracy. It works out for them all around.
Yeah, and maybe they did vote leave. They're just lying.
I think those records are probably public,
Parliament walking away from a question that they themselves put to the people. Now that will absolutely undermine belief in democracy in this country, and certainly belief in the establishment political parties.
Meaning, I love what he said there. He's like, listen, Parliament put it to the people.
Yeah.
The people responded. If you didn't want to hear the answer, then you shouldn't have put it to the vote in the first place.
Right, exactly.
Right?
That's a really good point.
Mogg warns May, rotten Brexit deal means we'll never leave the EU. So he's going to be there, it looks like. I guess this is a big deal. So Everybody's posting this.
Now, I think Barry had said that he's going to Tommy. I don't know, Britt, if you're going to go to this.
So this is March 29th, Parliament Square. Leave means leave. So this is the event, this everbright.com event. So everybody is sharing that. I wanted you guys to know that. Politicians promised us that we would leave the EU on March 29th. They now look to rescind that promise.
Absolutely right to talk about the public frustration and the day of reckoning that all politicians will have with the voters if we don't keep our promises on Brexit. It was very clear. We would try and get a deal. I've always supported that. I supported in the last series of votes changes to the deal that would make them acceptable to the UK and therefore to Parliament. In the absence, we need to leave on WTO terms. And I believe that we'd actually then be in a stronger position after an interim period to then continue the negotiations on the longer term relationship with the EU.
All right.
Do you want mine?
I need to think.
Thank you. Eric sent us these little fidget things.
I love my little pen.
In the pen, and she doesn't have her pen.
It's not a neuro thing. It's not a neurological thing. But like, what I would really love to do is have a walk with you.
A treadmill.
No, I decided that I want a screen behind me and just walk outside. Like, just, I need to move.
Wortha Look says Farage would still be the best person to lead a party towards Brexit for sure, even if it's just to get Brexit over the line. And that's the thing, okay? That's what Nigel is all about. He's gonna get Brexit over the line, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see where the chips fall.
So, this is an article. Support for no deal Brexit is backed by the public. I can't see why. So, let's see. Leaving in the World Trade Organization terms would allow the UK to have complete control over its rules and regulations, allowing Parliament to make the laws in the interest of the UK. So, without it, the more EU rules and regulations is something.
That's the withdrawal agreement. That's not even just staying in the EU, which it is staying in the EU. By the way,
conservative woman says that May's deal is as close to the EU. It keeps us as close to the EU as possible. It is not Brexit.
Why on earth would you leave? So what they're trying to say is, we get nothing. We're leaving, and we get no benefits of the EU, but they still get to tell us what to do. It's ridiculous. It's kind of like, okay, so your parents, you live under your parents' roof, right? And they get to tell you what to do, okay? And it's a trade-off. I live under your roof. You get to tell me what to do.
Right.
So what happens if you move out of your parents' house? You don't get to live under their roof. There's no more free living there, and you still have to do everything that they say. That's exactly what this is.
Well, you know what? You should just go around just telling people that like over and over and over again. Mark Carney, I guess you might know who he is. A disorderly no-deal Brexit would be only half as damaging as the Bank of England warned 3 months ago, he says. So maybe just cut that in half and get it in half again. In November, the bank said that after 3 years, the economy would be between 4.7% and 7.57% smaller. But now he's saying that he's reducing the damage. They're reducing the damage to the economy. And you know what's hilarious is where are the economists who are telling you just how great it's going to be?
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic. Do you guys understand when you're free to make free trade deals, make Britain great again will literally make you great again. Like with Trump, what he's trying to do is make America great again because we've been taken advantage of so much. Right. I mean, what's happening here? I don't want to talk about America right now. Forget it.
Although I know, and I don't want to miss a comment here because earlier Stacey wanted to talk about what's happening with vaccines here and how scary that is. We're not going to address that today because it is the European and UK show, but it is a really big deal that's going on in America right now. It's very, very scary. Did I say the America going on here in the United States?
Right. All right, so I think I'm gonna move on to let's see, here's a conversation here with Blaze TV. What does Nigel Farage think of America First? Logical, sensible, don't put your family first before your next door neighbors.
I was elected on America First. As a British citizen, member of Parliament, what do you think of America First for the United States?
Well, logical, sensible. I mean, don't you put your family first before the next door neighbours? Isn't that what people do? Isn't that normality? America First
And I locked the door, by the way.
And it's the same for us, isn't it? I want to put the United Kingdom first. I don't hate Europe. I don't dislike the other countries of Europe, but I just think we should run our own affairs.
You know what the biggest selling point for me as far as Brexit, and I clearly didn't have a vote, was that you don't have to abide by the wildly open immigration laws of the European Union. That was important to you.
I think immigration was the key. Absolutely the key. I think the understanding, and it links to the health service, it links to everything. The fact that we had a complete open door for as many people who wanted to come, could come into the country, not just to work, but to use the education system, to use the health system. In the end, people resented this, said, look, it simply is not right, it is not fair. And the Brexit vote, as much as anything, was about taking back control of our borders. And this issue, I still think, is the big issue. I know Donald Trump's fighting very, 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 very hard on these arguments about security, about borders. And I think conservative movements across the Western world must not get timid, must not be cowardly on this issue.
So, still, I'm going to go back. Go ahead, Michelle, and if you want to talk about Tommy and his court date real quick, because I do want to put this together, because the way Nigel danced around Islamation of the newcomers, and he said, they're coming in, they're not just working, they're taking education, they're taking health.
Right.
You have so much political correctness. And the one thing that, my mom always taught us when Michelle and I would maybe get in an argument, she would say, do you want the other person to just be mad and angry? Do you want them to be punished? Or do you want them to see
your side?
So Tommy has a place.
Right.
But he doesn't have his exposing Islam does not have a place in a political party right now.
Yeah.
Because of the political correctness. And he should say, for the best of Britain, I'm going to bow. I'm going to sit on the sidelines of a political party.
Exactly.
Because what I have to say does not, it's not going to help. Like, you have to sit back and say, Islamation is not good or healthy for the country.
Right.
Somebody has to expose it. But it's kind of like David in the Bible. He killed a lot of people. Okay, in war and battle.
Yeah.
He fought. So God said, your hands are dirty. I don't want you to build my temple. I'm gonna have Solomon do it.
Yeah.
And the fight against Islamation that Tommy is fighting, it shouldn't be so somatically difficult. It shouldn't be putting him in prison. It shouldn't be it should just be just like feminism talks loudly. I mean, do you see like feminists being arrested because they say the patriarchy is bad?
Right.
I just read an article on Yahoo News, and I shared it on Resistance Chicks if you want to bring it up. There was a princess from Qatari, I think. It's a state in the United Arab Emirates.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been trying to leave for a long time. She's a princess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I saw that.
Her dad is the leader of Qatari. He has 6 wives and 30 children. Wow. And she can have everything that she wants, but she can't go anywhere. But it's not public. She can't go to her friends' houses. She can't go anywhere. She can't do anything.
Really?
She's told what to do all the time. And she had a sister who tried to escape to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saudi government, how they got her out of the... Oh, might need help. How they got her out of the country and into Saudi Arabia, we don't know. But she says in a video that her sister was drugged and kind of went around like a zombie.
Wow.
When she was brought back to Saudi
Now,
Arabia.
from what I understand, she did a video.
Yeah.
Is that in this article that I'm trying to find?
No, I couldn't find the video. I just know the story. And I'd seen her on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, Leah's saying, I don't know if you guys can hear her because of the mic. So let me switch over to this article and we can take a look at this together. My name is Latifa bint Al Maktoum. The statement to the camera begins. My father is the leader of Dubai, and I'm making this video because...
Oh, it's Dubai. Sorry, I thought it was
could
Qatari.
be the last one I make. Pretty soon, I'm going to be leaving somehow. Less than a minute later in the video, which was uploaded to YouTube in March last year, Latifa, 33, you can grab your pen, known for her love of skydiving above Dubai, a glitzy modern state in the United Arab Emirates Federation and close ally of the United States on the Persian Gulf southeast coast, gives a further warning. If you're watching this, it's not such a good thing. Either I'm dead or I'm in a very, very bad situation.
So let me tell them what happened. Show me, just put the picture on them. That's her Scandinavian professional skydiver trainer who gave her like martial arts training, all kinds of stuff, and became really good friends with her. And she and another dude decided to drive her, go down to the pictures, you'll see, keep going, you'll see a map. And that chick, go look, you see this chick, this woman here, is with the former president of Ireland while in Dubai, and says they caught her. She escaped. They caught her on a boat in international waters. This chick from Ireland says, nothing we can do, it's a family matter now.
No way.
I gotta tell you, these politically correct people in the UK who suck up to the Islamists is really disgusting. Keep
Your
going.
father told us to beat you.
For her first escape.
Wow.
To death. That's Trump's little golf course. Keep going. I want to show you the map on how scary. That's a boat she, go ahead. So here I want to show you how scary this is. And
right
you're not, are they seeing it?
They are seeing it.
Okay, great. What I want to show you how scary this is that I got to thinking to myself, oh my gosh, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So they went from Dubai and they drove across Oman, the country of Oman, to get on a boat. And in international waters, right off the coast of India, the Indian government or somebody gave their coordinates away to the Saudi government. Navy showed up, helicopters showed up, grabbed the two people, the one an American citizen, and the other guy, and they interrogated them once they signed confessions, or they tried to let her escape. And they got let go, but that's the picture you can see of her with that.
And this was last
Ireland.
year?
Yeah. And so if you want to look, I want you guys to look at this map. And I want you to see Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Yemen, Somalia. Like, you can't, there's nowhere to go. Yeah. Like, you're landlocked. If you are trying to escape, that was really her only shot across international waters to try to get to India. Like, there's no walking, there's no driving, there's no way out. You're stuck.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. And you know what I have to say? Those people who want to leave Iran or leave Saudi Arabia or leave, Pakistan, you might be able to get into India.
Right.
But you want to leave, you would be Islamophobic.
Right.
Because you realize that it is the religion of Islam practiced politically that's keeping you subjugated as a female to these people. And if North Korea has a ideology, it's communism.
Yeah.
And it keeps people under their control.
Yes. And they're not allowed to leave.
And so I am communism phobic. I am definitely
a phobic of communism. You have a phobia. You have a fear.
And it's okay to say that you are not afraid of Muslims.
Right.
But you are definitely afraid of political Islam, because if you look at that map, you ain't going anywhere. You're a second-class citizen. They can come and kidnap you. You're a woman. You can't go anywhere. Right. It is scary to me, and I am phobic of it. I would be afraid.
I know,
somebody shared a video on Twitter of a couple in Iran. The woman has a headscarf. There's a whole group of people around, and he proposes, and he has a little heart and roses, and then the caption says, this couple was arrested because she hugged him after they got engaged. I'm Islamophobic of Islamic governments.
Yeah.
Okay? And you should be too.
Right.
The government of Pakistan is sending out, Twitter is sending out, and this was Tim Pool and Dave Rubin were talking about this, that Michelle Malkin got a notification from Twitter that said, the whatever you said about Muhammad, whatever meme you posted, could get you the death penalty in Pakistan. Just wanted to let you know that Pakistani government has flagged us to let you know that you could have the death penalty for committing anti-religious blasphemy.
Okay, well, first of all,
Is
your
that-
laws do not cover the
And then
entire world.
The West is but if you happen to go to Pakistan now, they can kill. They
I
can
have
kill
a
you.
feeling they would kill us all anyway. I mean, I have a feeling that if, never mind.
But what I'm trying to say is that with Tommy exposing this, it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because there are people that want to kill people who expose this.
I know.
Who talk about it. It's like they act this way. They
Right.
believe this way. They have, admittedly, jail people. Adram Chowdhury speaking hate.
Right.
He was jailed because of it.
Right.
Death to the whatever. I don't know what he said. I lost my marble.
Literally.
It's okay. I think I lose it once a show. And that's, that's no hard task to do. My point is that with Tommy and Nigel wants to take us out of the fear and the idea of if you get stuck in, oh my gosh, no go zones. Oh my gosh, stabbings. Oh my gosh, and you like literally get stuck. There is a world outside of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
There is a world outside of it.
Right.
And if you want to stop the violence and things like that, there's all kinds of violence. There's all kinds of abuse. I mean, seriously, before Islam in the UK, y'all have super predatory sexual.
And we're going to talk about
parliamentary.
We're going to talk about more sex scandals.
Well,
in the UK.
we don't know if that's Islamic or not.
No,
or
but either
Pakistani.
way, I mean,
But-
what I'm saying is, it's
so
an
there are other
ongoing
issues
issue.
to speak about, but
Right.
So what I'm saying that with Tommy, I support him and I support Nigel and I support them both exposing what they feel like they need to expose. Is what I'm trying to say,
Right.
and it's a delicate balance because this is what I want to tell you. I want to get to.
You had wanted me to talk about Tommy.
Yeah, talk about Tommy.
Okay, so why don't we just skip to Tommy's page on YouTube really quickly? And Leah, I don't know if you want to hook up your earbuds, but Tommy is set to be tried again in the day before Patriot Gallery's birthday, by the way, on the 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this steamrolled. So he exposed the BBC,
Mm-hmm.
which had nothing to do with Islam at the time, by the way, exposing the BBC. It was just they're biased.
Right.
Okay. And then immediately they come after him and they take him off of Facebook, which is where everyone was finding him.
Right.
And then right after that, within like a week, he's told he's going to be tried again, where the judge at the Old Bailey had told him, had refused to see the case. The highest judge in the land had refused. So they have it out for him. And it just goes to show you the strings that are all tied together between the BBC and censorship and they can and the law.
Right.
So all right, let's see, which one should we go with? This one's really long. I haven't actually seen this one, so let's try this one.
I know.
No crimes.
Well, okay, that really inflammatory line, behead those who follow Islam. Surely, do you not have a legal case against Facebook for claiming that you said that?
We're currently just talking with the Middle East Forum and hoping that they're going to support a case in America against Facebook. Because look, they're lying.
I think
but when you say have a case, just so people realise, when I was in prison, I had a lot of money donated to me, which I said I was using for a legal fund.
Yeah.
In the last month, I've spent £30,000. Yeah?
First question, Katie.
Sorry.
I'm taking
Where
the
are they
Times
going?
newspaper. The Sunday Times I'm taking to
Sorry.
court. They're aware of this. They've all
I
been
know.
I'm sorry.
The Socialist Worker Party, the Guardian, the Crown Prosecution Service. I have all of these I've served notice on. I am taking Cambridgeshire Police to court on the 12th of March for the harassment of my children.
Yeah.
I showed you that video last Sunday.
Yes, and then I've got another 4 cases which I should be taking to court. The prison authority I should be taking to court for the way they treated me and how I was held. All of these things. Do you know how much it costs when you sit down? So when I sat down
with lawyers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How are you meant to do it? How can you afford to do it? Do you know, like, I sat down and said about this case, what's the worst outcome if I lose this case?
Yeah.
Because bearing in mind, it's a judge that makes the decision.
Yeah.
Is a judge going to rule on me? when Judge Marston put me in prison, against every single rule going in the book, he just still stuck me in prison. Will a judge side me? Will they side on the right side of the law? Now, if they don't, how much is it going to cost? £150,000 a trial.
Yeah.
Is it like currently for my case against Cambridgeshire Police, which starts on the 12th of March, they've said that their costs are going to be £50,000. Yeah. So if I lose, I have to pay mine, and then I have to pay their 50. Now they put that cost, and my solicitor said that's simply to try and deter you from going through with this.
Right.
Then they've been offering me out of court settlements. Cambridgeshire Police have already offered me 2 out of court settlements. I don't want their out of court settlement. What I want is proof that they targeted my children in order to.
All right, so this is where you're going to find Tommy, by the way, because they've taken him off of every other platform here on his channel.
Somebody says Cambridgeshire Police have offered Tommy Robinson 2 out-of-court settlements. He prefers to settle the guilt of the Cambridgeshire Police in court. There are more important things than money to Tommy Robinson, like innocence, dignity, and truth.
Right.
And Gert Wilder says, my dear friend Tommy Robinson should never have been charged nor taken to court. He is a true hero. I will support him in every way possible.
I love Gert Builders. Worth a Look says, unreal what they are doing to Tommy. They'll regret it if they send him back to jail. All right, so the video that I want to do, and I still want to do it because I really want you guys to share it because I want it to get to Tommy, is going to be that, Tommy, you can only do this with Jesus. You're only going to be able to take down these people because they are pure evil. They are the devil. They are satanic, and there is literally only one antidote for it. There's only one remedy. There's only one, superpower that takes down this kind of evil. And it's not the evil of Islam. It's not the evil of censorship. It's not the evil of the BBC. It's just the devil. And you go up against the devil at the highest levels, and if you don't have Jesus, he will take you down. And the reason why Tommy is so successful is because of all the powerful praying Christians that support him. And I believe that deep inside, Tommy is, so the Bible talks about being called. I believe deep inside he's called to be a Christian. Right. I believe one day he will be. Right. And so that in and of itself also protects him, but he's gonna need it.
Right.
Or else they will be able to take him down.
I'm gonna go over a couple of these stories to explain why does Tommy do what he does. Well, pregnant French jihadi wife killed during attack on prison guards. The pregnant wife of a notorious French Islamist was shot dead by prison guards this week after the pair stabbed 2 guards with a ceramic knife. Muslim convert Michael Chiolo was joined by his wife Haneen Abulhana in the prison's family life unit where the attack occurred on Tuesday. And she might want to go outside. Okay. At around 9, Abulhana arrived at the prison fully veiled. Guys, fully veiled. And only a few minutes after her arrival, her husband was able to stab 1 guard in the arm, chest, and in the back, and then a second guard in the arm and then in the face. The pair then fortified, I guess she was upstairs, their position until they were raided by security forces, shooting and killing the 34-year-old pregnant woman and injuring the 27-year-old Islam convert. So this guy, Michael, is an infamous Islamist in France, having murdered 89-year-old Roger Terral, a French war hero who survived the Nazi concentration camp. In 2012, at the age of 20, Chilolo, how do you say that? Along with 2 others, tied up this elderly gentleman, leading to his suffocation, and then made off with his war medals and cash. And thank God he got such a long sentence. He was sentenced to 28 years in prison. But this woman was carrying 2 vials of an unknown substance, and a ceramic knife to what, get him out? I don't know. So that sounds safe.
Speaking of stabbings, I did have an article that I wanted to share with you guys. Britt Baza had sent it to us. So let me go ahead and switch over. We can read it together. All right. Hopefully nothing's playing. So a Spanish man, 26, who died after being stabbed 6 times inside of a house, then chased down an East London street, barefoot, screaming, "Help, they're after me." Horrified witnesses revealed how a man screamed, "Help, they're after me," as he fled barefoot from a house after being stabbed 6 times before bleeding to death in the street. The man, who was named by police today as Spanish national David Martinez, 26, was helped by onlookers who tried to stem his wounds. As the crowd attempted to give him CPR, a suspect fled the scene in Leighton, East London, according to a witness. The woman, who did not want to be named, told Mail Online he got stabbed at the flats over there. He came running for his life. He was screaming for help and crying. He just kept repeating, "Help, help, help, help. They are after me." A police spokesman said at this early stage it is believed that the fatal attack on the man took place at a nearby residential address.
So are they saying that they do have any suspects or anything?
It says it's not believed to be gang related. Here, let's make sure that video is
gang related.
It's not
What about-
believed
or terror related or whatever.
He had been run over and repeatedly stabbed.
Wow.
The man was the 14th stabbing fatality in 16 days, including 17-year-olds Jody Chelsea and Joseph Maki, who were killed in separate incidents in London. So in Coventry, a 14-year-old schoolgirl was chased by up to 15 other teenagers before being attacked with what one witness described as scissors. The victim's injuries are not life-threatening. So let me go to this other video that Bear had sent. It's not long. About these stabbings, right? It's incredible what is happening here.
It's been a week since 17-year-old Jodie Chesney was stabbed and killed at a park in East London. Since then, 5 more people have lost their lives to knife crime.
He was good with his words, he was very intelligent, and he was kind, and he was handsome.
Today, the Home Secretary visited the West Midlands, where knife crime has gone up by more than 80% since 2012. Sajid Javid was accosted repeatedly by people worried about their children's safety.
Both my children have been mugged at knife point recently, and I wanted to know what he was doing about the police cuts, because I think 21,000 officers have been cut. It's not okay. My children shouldn't be at risk, and they are, because of these cuts.
And she says she wasn't satisfied by his response.
I think we need to make sure police have what they want, and it's good to see that because of the record amount of extra funding we're providing this year, we're seeing almost 3,000 more officers on the street this year.
But in Birmingham, police have invoked enhanced stop and search powers after 3 teenagers were stabbed to death in a fortnight. In this incident last week involving 3 youths, a knife can clearly be seen. In the doorway of a charity shop, a 16-year-old boy is stabbed in the leg. Along with the age of the victims, one of the more startling things about this recent surge in knife crime is that no place seems immune from it. This isn't a stereotypical estate. This is right in the heart of the city centre. The Chief Constable has found the money for 200 new officers here, but only by making savings elsewhere and only after years of cuts.
We've lost 2,000 officers over a number of years, and the public noticed a huge drop in visibility, and it's reduced our proactivity. So I think, particularly in urban forces like here in the West Midlands, there is a case for more resourcing.
The Home Secretary has now heard what the police need and what many of the public expect. After a week of tragedy and outcry, he is under pressure to help prevent more people being killed.
This is such insanity, the fact that there are so many of these knife crimes that keep happening.
But online hate.
And that's what
they're going to go
and
after.
that's what Katie Hopkins keeps showcasing. She's like, I love how she always says hurty words. They won't protect people that are being raped or stabbed, but if so and so on, social media says something that has hurty words, then she's saying that's where the police forcing is going. They send like 5 police officers. They send people to intimidate Tommy Robinson's children. And they're making police cuts because they can't address knife crime. You had one job. I mean, seriously, that's what it is. You had one job.
UK children are given lessons on how to treat stab wounds.
Oh my gosh.
Children in high knife crime areas are being taught how to deliver first aid to stab victims. Details of the program emerging less than a week after 2 teenagers were stabbed to death in separate attacks and a knife gang entered a school grounds and threatened pupils.
Unbelievable.
Run by Charity Street doctors, school children are taught how to deliver first aid to stabbing victims through role play and learn how to stem blood loss. The scheme operates in 16 cities across the country, including London, where less than 15% of the population live, but 1/3 of all the stabbing victims occur.
Oh,
the
wow.
charity has said that they know of 14 cases where their training has helped in an emergency situation for youths, in one case in a shooting, and 7 after a stabbing. Carl Ward, a chief executive of City Learning Trust in Stoke, Staffordshire, told the newspaper that Street Doctors gives training to at secondary schools, explaining, they come and show you what a knife can do to the body. It makes it very real. Children are usually in quite of a shock. Stoke-on-Trent is a tough area with lots of gang problems. We've had for a few years to prep the children up so they know what they're getting into.
Wow.
Every child has lessons from street doctors, including how to respond to a stabbing. On Monday morning, police were called to Runshaw College in Leyland, Lancashire, after administrators were informed a gang of youths traveling from Manchester, 30 miles away, were intending to enter a school grounds bearing knives in what was suspected to have been a targeted attack.
So hang on. So somebody was saying, I thought that knives were illegal in the UK. From what I understand, it is illegal to carry a knife with you. And so, but it doesn't matter. If you're going to stab somebody, you're already doing something illegal. Britt Voss says, Michelle, the UK has 124,000 police to police 65 million people at the moment, and the police stations only work 9 to 5. That's crazy. That made my eyebrows raise. Like, what? Not that the police, I think that the stations themselves are only open 9 to 5, which is ridiculous.
So in a socialist country such as the UK, you're very socialist. They can't have police. They don't pay for police. They pay for everything but police.
Right.
It's absolutely insane.
Well, no, it actually isn't. It makes total sense. Do you know why? Because as with anything in a socialist society, they will give you everything, but they give it to you at a diminished value. And so you think you have police, you think that you have healthcare, you think that you have all of these things, education, but it's being given to you at a diminished value than what you're actually paying for.
That's really true. That's really, really true.
So it's pronounced sheer, not shire.
Thank you.
Although I do like the way you say it, Sean says.
Thank you. Thank you. This got me. So do you guys remember?
Oh, and you have to be 18 or older to buy a knife, says Worth a Look. It says, yes, illegal to carry one, but doesn't matter to these yuts. Did you just say yuts? Yeah, they'll use them anyway.
So the Parsons Green bomber.
Oh, yeah?
Was being fostered in a home of a couple, or pensioners, tired couple.
Oh, no.
Who has fostered like hundreds of kids. And they were not told that he had trained under ISIS. And they're suing the government. Yeah, I read this earlier.
No!
Pensioners Penny and Rod Jones are to sue Surrey County Council for negligence, claiming it had withheld vital information about the dangers posed by Ahmed Hassan, the child refugee who went on to injure 51 people when he left an explosive device on a train, which detonated at Parsons Green, London Underground Station, September 15, 2017. Hassan, who claimed to be 15 years old when he was traveling illegally to Britain, he later claimed he was 19, from a Paris migrant camp in 2015, had been placed in the care of the elderly couple, though the local council failed to tell them that he had informed himself, the Home Office Immigration Center, about his links to the terror group. Instead, authorities sold him to the couple as a merely troubled young person who had tried to commit suicide. A lawyer representing Mr. and Mrs. Jones told the Telegraph Surrey County Council owed Penny and Ron a duty to disclose key information about the danger Ahmed posed. Their lives have been turned upside down.
Oh my
They
gosh.
housed in their home a young man with the capability of killing thousands of people.
Well, hang on though, because
and the mental desire to kill people.
There are often, go ahead, pick up your little thing.
I know.
There are oftentimes kids in foster care who have the capability of doing such things, right? Across the world, regardless of just mental insanity, child abuse, neglect, things like that, create children that do those sorts of things. But when authorities know that a child has been trained to kill, and they do not tell the foster parents this.
That is negligence.
That is
why
beyond
negligence.
negligence.
And you know why they didn't tell him?
Absolutely, because nobody would take him.
Right.
They wouldn't have found a home for him.
My desk is metal as well, so it's hilarious. Okay, so, when the trial was going on, the woman was asked if she had known that he was trained to kill by ISIS, and she said no, and we would never have taken him, and no one should have had to take him.
I'm gonna turn this back on.
Okay, After being apprehended by authorities, the Iraqi migrant was not charged with terror offenses. However, but with the criminal charges of attempted murder. He was later found guilty and sentenced to a life with a minimum of 34 years imprisonment in 2018. So the Old Bailey had heard that the young illegal migrant, had been referred to the government's anti-extremism strategy PREVENT after he had told his teacher it was his duty to hate Britain because the country's involvement in the war on terror, and after she had caught a WhatsApp message on his phone reading, ISIS, Islamic State, has accepted your donation.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't even know that I didn't even know that you could donate like that.
He was trained by ISIS. I know. He was trained by ISIS. Okay? He went illegally into the UK, was probably getting government funds because he's a kid, and they probably gave him a stipend of money, and he sent that money, your UK money, to ISIS.
Wow.
But they didn't do anything about him. They left him in foster care.
Yeah, and
He
not
sent
telling his
money
foster parents.
to ISIS. Oh my gosh. Y'all stupid. Who's ever running this shenanigans is just plain stupid.
Yeah.
Same thing happening in Sweden. Let's see.
Everything is the same happening in Sweden.
I know, right? I don't know. Shoot. Where's my one? There's a article where one of the head guys in running the country in Sweden says, "Hey, we know that these guys are terrorists, but we want to keep them." I think it might be one of my. Okay, Sweden still migration. Sweden's reintroduction of the right to family reunion for the people granted asylum in Sweden without refugee status entitles so-called unaccompanied children to bring their parents to Sweden.
Wow.
Many of these unaccompanied children turned out to be adults and not the minors.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So, Mehdi Shokoto, a gay 19-year-old Iranian who converted to Christianity in Sweden after he fled from Iran in 2017, probably wishes that the Swedish authorities would apply their humanitarian approach to his particular case. The Swedish migration authorities rejected his asylum application, claiming that Kuda is lying about his situation since the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Iran has executed many people, so of course that's really... I'm gonna be a Christian. Nope, you're lying. You're lying.
I love how it says, you
members.
read over the part that says the dentist who contributed to exposing this inconsequential detail was subsequently fired.
As for Sweden's humanitarian impulse or lack thereof regarding persecuted Christians, there are an estimated 8,000 Christians under deportation orders in Sweden, hiding in Sweden. According to
so they're bringing in all of the religion that shall not be named people, and they are kicking out the Christians.
So, Swedish terrorism expert Magnus Ranstorp recently warned Sweden against taking back not only ISIS terrorists, but also their wives and their children, who he said also pose a security risk. Some of them have learned how to kill. Their identities will forever be linked to their time with ISIS. Sweden's new government, which was finally formed in January after months of delay, is introducing policies that will lead to more immigration into Sweden, despite the main governing party, the Social Democrats, having run for office on a promise to tighten immigration policies. The right to family reunion for those granted asylum in Sweden who do not have refugee status is being reintroduced, a measure that is estimated to bring in at least 8,400 more immigrants to Sweden in the coming 3 years. I think it's a very good humanitarian measure. 90% of those expected to come are the women and the children who have lived for a long time in refugee camps and who can now be reunited with their father or husband in Sweden.
Wow.
He was probably referring
but
to
why
the
did the father come into Sweden first to start with?
Because his life's more important. He was probably referring to the fact that most of the migrants who arrived in the past couple of years were young males who had left their wives and children behind. The measure also entitles so-called unaccompanied children to bring their parents to Sweden. Many of these unaccompanied children
requires them to bring their parents.
I know. Turned out to be adults and not minors.
Oh my
Joe Hansen also said that the government plans to extend the right to remain in Sweden by introducing new humanitarian grounds for this protection. This means that people who would otherwise not be eligible for a residence permit will now be able to acquire it for the following reasons. For very sensitive cases, there must be an opportunity to increase the options for acquiring residence permits. It may be in cases where people are very sick, fragile, or very vulnerable, for example. Listen, I'm all for refugee status for real people who are persecuted, but that's not what happened.
Like the Christians that are being kicked out of Sweden.
So this gay 19-year-old...
They should get refugee status here in the United States.
So here we have a gay 19-year-old Iranian man who converted to Christianity in Sweden after he'd fled to Stockholm from Iran in 2017, is
now
supposedly lying about his situation, and they want to send him back.
So he's not a refugee.
Right.
Because he's gay and he converted to be a Christian.
Right.
You can't come and you can't stay here. What hypocrisy in this completely liberal, open-minded country that Sweden is supposed to be.
Right.
They hate men. They hate men so much they even hate gay men.
So, but on a positive note, the Swedish government did present plans to introduce legislation that would criminalize membership of a terrorist organization, and would enable the prosecuting of returning ISIS fighters who cannot be connected to a specific crime, but who were proven to have been part of ISIS. So that would probably be a good thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That would probably be a good thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, but it kind of feels like too little, too late. They're just kind of saying that at this point.
Oh yeah. So I think Swedish conservative leader, mass migration has led to insecurity for women.
Duh.
Ebba Busch Thor, leader of the Swedish Christian Democrats, has slammed the mass migration policies of the Swedish government, saying they have made women less secure. The conservative leader slammed the left-wing establishment, saying it had largely failed on feminist issues despite supporting a supposed feminist-oriented policy. Above all, the issue of women's insecurity must be addressed, and it is acute, she said. The fear is largely due to harassment from wandering groups of young men, often new arrivals from the parts of the world where women are not expected to move freely. And we just talked about that. In all these countries, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan.
Yeah. You don't go anywhere by yourself. You have to be accompanied by
Iran.
a male.
Exactly. Busch Thor added that the municipality youth service had even advised young girls not to go out by themselves, not just at night, but during the day. This means that the woman's human dignity is subordinate to a man's. She will stay home or be escorted because she cannot handle his impulses. I do not want that. I cannot and will not accept that, nor will I be silent about that. And it's funny the way that, like, the Irish former president was saying it's a family member. You know, it's just
Family
the way
matter.
Family matter. It's okay.
Yeah.
This is the way they act. We want them in our country. So if that's the way they act from their cultures, then I guess, you know, if they're just going to rape and hurt women, then that's just what is going to happen. There's nothing we can do. We want them here, and that's what's going to happen. She also slammed what she referred to as feminists on television sofas, saying they were too busy discussing gender stereotyped Lego characters or men's art in the Stockholm subway, while a long series of real-life questions await solutions. And where does this come from? It's just satanic.
Exactly.
They're
And that's what we were talking
delusional
about
in their
earlier.
mind.
Yeah.
Okay? This is my challenge to the country's gender equality debates. Do you want to help me build a new kind of feminism, or do you want to continue to be part of the problem? So I'm glad that she's speaking out. I'm glad that she's saying something, but I fear that her voice will not be heard loud and clear. But the more the internet is used, so that we get out the information. Swedish Islamophobia expert turned ISIS fighter is arrested in Syria. So this is a Swedish Norwegian Islamophobia expert. Now he was called on to prevent Islamophobia.
Okay.
In Sweden.
Okay.
And he went to Islamic State to fight as a jihadist.
Right. And now he's been arrested.
Has been arrested by Kurdish forces in Syria, with sources claiming Norway wants to prosecute this guy. He's 33 years old. He was born in Sweden to Norwegian parents.
Wow.
Was captured this week in the village of Baghus, in one of the very few remaining areas under any form of Islamic State control, said in a Swedish newspaper. Skrumo had been one of the hundreds of Islamic State terrorists still fighting the Kurdish forces and attempting to defend the village. He was not the only foreign fighter, with most of the last surviving holdouts being foreigners.
Oh my gosh.
Though the Swedish citizen had told relatives that he would rather die than surrender, he was allegedly captured by the Kurds after surrendering to them following the previous capture of his 7 children. The Swedish YPG soldier Jesper Solder described the capture of the infamous jihadist, saying he was arrested with a cluster of people.
Look at
I
this.
think he was found in a cluster of people in a tunnel where he had dug himself in.
Oh my gosh. That's a Swedish kid.
Soder added that around 50 Islamic State members were arrested at once, including women and children.
Oh my gosh.
Magnus Ranstorp, terrorist researcher at the Swedish National Defense College, commented on the arrest and his potential prosecution by the Norwegian government. In Norway, the average penalty for participation in cooperation with ISIS is approximately 7 years. He also added there was a possibility of him being handed over to the United States, where he could face a much more substantial sentence of up to 30 years, I guess, because he was fighting for ISIS.
Okay, yeah.
Ranstorp suggested that while Skråmo had been well known in Sweden, calling for Islamic State supporters to commit attacks on Swedish soil in propaganda videos, he was likely not involved in planning terror attacks personally. So he says he has not been an international propagandist, that is, someone who appears to speak in English or other language in his videos. So he is big in Swedish context, but he is small potatoes in the Islamic State because he doesn't do it in English. But he literally said,
"Oh my gosh,
carry out attacks on my Swedish brothers and sisters." This is brainwashing. And there's the question. What I don't see in this article, how was he radicalized?
Yeah.
He was an Islamophobia expert. He got into these Muslim communities.
Yeah.
And was like, I know
and
the
he
people.
Was radicalized.
You're just afraid. You're just afraid. You're just afraid. And he's like giving us all reason to be afraid.
Strong with these people.
This is where like I could be taken off of YouTube.
Right.
This video is demonetized, and I can't get up on my high horse.
You're just little.
I know. Like I need a little box down here. It's absolutely insane to say, hey, this guy was working heavily in the Islamic community, and they turned him into an ISIS fighter. Now the question is, so ISIS is defeated, supposedly
in Syria,
but how many Islamists, if there was another ISIS, would go and fight?
Exactly.
Where are these hiders? These people who pose these beliefs and these ideals.
And I also because I want to play devil's advocate here for 1 second. I was thinking about
they're hiding in a Swedish government trying to tell you not to be Islamophobic.
Well, I was thinking about you talking about the guy that proposes, to his wife, and then they hug, and then they're arrested. Mm-hmm. There are many people like in Iran, even the husbands of these people, the women that are part of My Stealthy Freedom and stuff, that yes, they want to stay where they're at, but I believe that they would choose to leave if they could. Mm-hmm. So in that case, they are Muslims that do not want to live under Sharia law. Mm-hmm. And so we do need to address that part of the discussion and say, you know what, those people need help. And if they come to us for help and you can like legitimately say these people would like to be, safe, and the women want to be able to be free. We don't want to be under these people that fought in the 70s against what happened. Those kinds of people I believe deserve a place at the table in discussion. And so I want to highly encourage our viewers to understand that there are those Muslims out there that do exist. So I wanted to throw that out there, counter to the fact. So while those people are in hiding,
you don't have a choice though in these countries to be Muslim or not Muslim. So how do you how can you
it's
even
be Muslim or die?
Right. So you can't even you have to take it. You have to really take it a step further and say, what is your specific ideology?
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to women's rights? Do you you know what I mean? This is what's really scary here though. Guy Verhofstadt. I love Verhofstadt. He is really concerned about these EU elections, which makes me pretty excited. Soros is worried about it. Everybody's worried about it.
And you know who's excited about it, Nigel? He's like,
go ahead.
I really hope that, I think, not that I hope, but I think Nigel is kind of eager to okay, you know what? The gloves are coming off. If we don't leave with no deal, the gloves are coming off, and I think he's kind of like giddy either way.
Here's the thing. My only consolation to you guys not leaving right away is to see Nigel Farage continue in the EU Parliament, because that is like one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah.
Like seriously, like chocolate cake, and I like Nigel in the EU Parliament.
I'm gonna make you a chocolate cake for your birthday.
Thank you. All right, this year's EU election will be the last chance to kill, quote, populism, he calls it. Basically, we have to, what they call populism and nationalism, it's just people thinking for themselves.
Yeah.
We have to
squash free thinking.
Free thinking. He warned, calling for sovereignty, destroying reform, which would transfer national powers, get this, transfer national powers, everybody's powers to Brussels. So here we have the EU trying to be like, oh, we're going to be all these different member states. We're going to come together. We're going to create all these things, and we're going to be individuals, and you have your vote and all this stuff. No. It's always been about central power
in Germany,
which is Nazism and fascism.
Right, exactly.
So what he's proposing is Nazism and fascism.
Right. Which, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's Alex Jones saying it or Resistance Chick saying it or whatever. It's true that the Nazis all rolled over into founding the European Union, and so they don't have any.
The idea
tricks.
was to take over the EU.
Yeah.
Take over Europe.
Right.
The idea was to take over Europe, and because people are fighting the control, they're taking off their masks, and they're literally, you see the demon screaming.
Yeah.
This man's a demon, screaming, "I will have control. I will have control of you.
We must control the internet."
The internet, yes. In an interview with 5 influential establishment newspapers from across the country, he says this blatantly. He says this on Tuesday. Remember, he's Brussels Brexit coordinator.
Which is maybe why
gave his backing to the vision of a federal EU superstate unveiled by Emmanuel Macron this week.
Oh my gosh.
Literally, you guys, this Franco-German or Brussels thing going on, a centrist, pro-European, reformist political force needs to take charge in Brussels. Take charge. Take charge, which means they're literally telling you are thinking bad things.
Yeah.
We want to control you. No democracy, by the way. Just forget it. Stating that the French president's call for the revival of Europe, no, that's not exactly what's happening, must be one of the key points of reference for politicians aligned with this cause. The union envisioned by the French president is a Europe that can stand on its own 2 feet in a world of great powers in which the EU nations would not be able to protect their own interests and way of life by themselves. The idea of coming together was that, hey, if we're going to enter a battle, France is going to enter it, Britain's going to enter it, and you come together as one, but then you separate at the end.
Right.
Okay?
And free movement and free trade.
Asserting that nothing is eternal, the Belgian politicians stressed that without a statist Brussels takeover, literally a Brussels takeover, which would see Eurocrats create an EU army, seize control over national borders, migration and bloc-wide energy policy, and even organize the internet in a European way, a populist nightmare would become a reality, meaning freedom.
Yeah.
We're literally talking about freedom, okay? You are the William Wallace. No offense, just, it's true. We like William Wallace. Freedom! Braveheart, right? Such measures are not just about blocking populists or nationalists, but are about breaking the current status quo and stagnation that prevents the EU officials from imposing top-down reforms on every member state. So there's a lot of things that are getting in the way from us just doing what we want, or the entirety of Europe, because people get in the way.
Oh my.
We just want to do what we want to do. Like, seriously, like I said, mask taken off, demon.
But I'm going to pause right there. Pause that, because it is worth noting, and I want people. So if Patriot Gallery was here, she would be asking us to bring good news to this. This is a time to, I think, insert good news.
Well, I am laughing. I love this.
The good news is this.
When they take their mask off, it's so much easier.
But the reason why and this is happening whether it's AOC or whatever, they're losing. And you talked about this the other day about God hardening people's hearts.
Yeah.
The closer that we get to God and right, and populism and righteousness and goodness rises in the world, God is literally hardening their hearts. And as he hardens their hearts, their masks come off.
And I'll put it this way as well, like with the abortion debate.
Yeah.
So many people in America were sitting on the sidelines, and then they're literally
vaccines.
telling you what they really want.
Yeah.
They want infanticide.
Yeah.
So at that point, you finally see who they are, and then anybody who was moderate and said, "Oh, Planned Parenthood does breast exams and mammograms and just abortions for people who are like, rape victims and incest."
Yeah.
There's just a few of the other kind. But that's not true. They want infanticide.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to the EU, I get excited.
Yeah, me too.
Because when he says things like this, because before everybody, we're in conspiracy basement saying...
They're planning this. They want world takeover. They want it just to be from Brussels. And they don't want to listen to anybody, in the European Union. They just want top-down control. And then everybody's, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. Well, now it's not. It's a conspiracy, and it's truth. And they're telling you. Britt Baza says, Michelle, the EU is a dictatorship run by the ERT, or European Roundtable of Industrialists, who are appointed by themselves but use the European elections to elect the European Parliament.
Right. So such measures are not just about blocking populists or nationals, but are also... Oh, yeah, sorry. He says he admitted dismissing belief that the European federalism could be slowed, or that any aspect of national sovereignty could be restored as stuck in the past. And he basically saying no national sovereignty will ever be restored. That's his stuck in the mud. That's in the past. Those are his right-wing enemies.
Wow.
Asked why he believes populism sentiment has been strengthening across the bloc, the former Belgian Prime Minister blamed the internet before going on to echo Macron and in endorsing an EU-wide purging of the internet of so-called hate.
No, here's the thing.
I want to take control of the internet.
And I get that. And it's really exciting to me because you have a stupid person like Verhofstadt, who's not that intelligent, kind of giving away the secrets. Like, you're not supposed to say that almost. You know what I mean? Because I feel like
any thinking person can say, but the internet is about freedom of speech.
But behind closed doors, they're all saying, if we don't stamp out the internet and what's happening on the internet, we're going to lose control. And so Verhofstadt comes out of this meeting, out of these behind closed doors conversations where they said that, and then he comes out and says that, and I'm sure they've all gone, you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to tell them that we want to control the internet. You're not supposed to tell them that.
I think that they're all just lost.
Yeah.
They know they're getting ready to lose.
Right.
They're all pretty much saying, and trying to see if they could brainwash and manipulate a few more people.
Yeah.
To say, well, if they say it like the internet is really in the way, there are some people who will give over their freedom and say, well, to protect the EU.
Well, it's like these women that are committing suicide or not having children because they're told that population, bloom or whatever, it's just normal.
That was another article I didn't
taking
even
down
bring
our
up.
world.
The UK has an organization trying to get women to commit to not have kids to save the planet.
It's in the United States too. It's
Right.
everywhere. It's so scary. Soft Alloy says, I personally believe the elites want to go back to the fiefdom days.
They do. It's always about power and control.
Right. Johnny Scott Ward says the EU is a fascist organization and was always designed to be so. It's a blueprint for a one world government.
Exactly. It's not just about Europe. It's one world government.
Right. Podum says they want control over the internet or break up tech giant because in the end they want the power for themselves. They are tired of having to ask big tech to censor dissidents.
Right. It's the big names. They have been working really hard to censor.
Right.
They've done a good job. Jada Franson, I don't agree with her on some things. I think that she does take it a little too far, and banning Islam itself.
We haven't talked about them in a long time.
I think that they were kind of like driven in that direction. I don't think they started out with that, but they got stuck. Like, you get stuck in you start to realize how evil some of it is.
We heard
it's
more
hard
about
for you to see the good, like in Iran or like.
But they succeeded with Jada and Paul Golding. They
shut-
did it.
that's what I'm
They
saying.
shut
They
them
shut
down.
them-
I mean,
But
we
my
heard about
point-
Jada and Paul every day. They were out there. They were on the front
Britain
lines,
first.
and they literally shut them down.
That's why I wanted to say I don't believe their voices should be taken down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I want to hear what David Duke has to say. So why would you know what I mean? Like, I want to know what people are saying.
Because if you allow the internets, Verhofstadt, to do their job, we'll take down the Muslim Islam extremists. Like, we will do it.
Like, you can fight ideology
on the internet. We will take care of it.
And that's why they have to shut everything down. That's why they have to shut it down.
need to censor these people. We will self-censor, not self-censor, but we will
Because
make
the
sure
right
that their
people will
voices
get
are
to the
squashed.
top. The right people. Like, listen, Louis Farrakhan is an anti-Semite, and I
Yeah.
don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
No.
But I want to hear what he has to say.
Yeah.
I want to know what he's thinking. I want to know
Exactly.
what he's preaching in his pulpit.
Right.
He says one reason it's technical is that the social media is being used for political and electoral abuse, such as lies, hate speech, and other manipulations about which Facebook, for example, has done very little. The second reason for the growth of patriotic politics in Europe, according to Verhofstadt, was lack of courage in Brussels to sanction, penalize, and shut down popular conservative leaders such as Viktor Orban.
Of course.
Shut it down.
They are. They had... they created this Frankenstein called the internet. You and I are horse and buggy, homestead, no electricity girls through and through. They created the internet. I believe it's evil. I believe it's Satan's platform, and it has gotten out of control because the good people took over and started exposing Okay, who was
the
doctor that created Frankenstein.
Exactly.
And now they're afraid, and now they have to try and kill their Frankenstein, but they can't because they need it too.
So then, at the very end of this article, shows not only their European designs, but get this, he said this is him. This is his own tweet, and I want you to see some of the comments on this tweet, because. Oh, look at that face.
Scotty says they don't play by the rules either. They hold us to the rules, but they break all of them and censor you and stuff.
He says, let's create a single Euro-African economic area. It would have an enormous potential that remains untapped. 1.5 billion, quote, consumers, 20 trillion in value, able to rival with China. He literally put a value on people in China for Europe.
Not people in China, you mean
people in Africa for Europe. If that
this
doesn't
has been
breathe
done
of
before
colonialism, what does? This is like another. But here's the thing.
Hey,
guys,
white dude.
Guys, I have to tell you something. Satan, sometimes he will do the same thing over and over again when nobody catches on.
Yeah.
Or something dies out and he'll bring. I'm sure slavery will come back like in the forefront later. But they found a way. How can we really want to take advantage of the Africans? But slavery is out of the question.
Yeah.
So how do we
tap
take
into
advantage
this resource
of these people and this whole giant continent? It's like literally, here's Europe up here. It's relatively small compared to the continent of Africa. And they're saying, well, that could be ours. That should be ours. How can we take this without, with public opinion going in our direction? So before you could just take over, colonialism was a thing. Nobody cared, right? But people care a little bit now.
I feel like we're going to start seeing them like show up on trains in khaki and those hats all over again. Like they're going to show up in Africa in the, like the arid places of Africa with dust and whatnot. Like all the Hollywood movies from the 50s and 40s that we saw, like that's going to happen all over again.
So France is connected to Algeria. And I wanted to bring this up because it was talking about Africa again. And there's a lot of unrest there. And this article, the title kind of caught my eye, which said, Algeria could be the iceberg that would sink Emmanuel Macron. So I was curious. It says, recent unrest there now threatens France with possibly another migration wave on the way. After surviving several assassination attempts by French Parisians of Algerie Francois, Charles de Gaulle in March 1962 signed a peace agreement ending the French sovereignty over Algeria. The war for Algerian independence had been long and vicious, marked by terrorism and torture. Everyone who mattered in French politics believed in 1954 that Algeria was an integral part of France to be defended at all costs. But by 1962, their view had changed. With cold realism, the president remarked of the conflict, now in its 7th year, as for France, it will be necessary for her now to interest herself in something else.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what is this? I mean, again, we're going back to like the olden days where people didn't have anything better to do and they had, the rich need to find something to interest themselves.
But here's the thing, France, Algeria actually was built up by France. So Algeria didn't do too well after that. The Algerians who had taken the side of France fought in its army or served as its administration of the Algerian government, fared terribly. Many suffered appalling deaths at the hands of the vengeful victors. An important reason why de Gaulle broke with his conservative army supporters and became determined to negotiate Algerian independence was that he thought the French and Algerians were fundamentally different peoples. For him, Algerie, France, I don't know how to say that, Francois, and the France of 100 million, supplemented by Algeria's population and vast reserves of oil and gas, was total fantasy. His colleague quoted him as saying privately in 1959 that you could mix Arabs and French together, but like oil and vinegar in a bottle, after a while they would inevitably separate. He worried that in Algerie, Francois, I don't know how to say that, Francois would lead inevitably to his home village and basically would transform his home village. Nevertheless, Algeria, after independence, remained tightly connected to France economically, not least as a principal source of temporary factory workers, a migration that began during the Algerian War itself. Even as the need for factory labor diminished, France instituted family reunification. So there are now 3 million Algerians in France with French or dual citizenship. France's relationship with the Algerian government is privileged. Every French president makes a state visit to Algeria in his first year of office. Trade is mutually important. but it might, but there might be some unrest and destabilization that could bode ill for France. Algeria's president suffered a serious stroke 6 years ago and now seldom appears in public at age 82. Those who speak for him insisting that he run for a fifth presidential term, since Algeria's elections are less than free, with a ruling party of full control, ballot access, and vote counting. That means his victory is preordained. For some, few seem to know the true balance of forces in Algerian politics. There is a powerful state apparatus.
Français.
Thank you, Français. Linked to the army, but no strong political parties. Islamists won the first round of legislative elections in 1991. In France, President Emmanuel Macron's government last week recalled its ambassador for consultations. And regional specialists are saying, perhaps wishfully, that the Islamists are not nearly as popular as they were in the 90s. But there's unrest in Algeria. And if Algeria were to collapse into chaos, France would destabilize as well, because their economies are intertwined. The civil war there was a civil war that resulted in a huge migration surge. And this time it would be much larger. So a bunch of people would try to come into France from an Islamist country.
Yeah.
And multiculturalism obviously hasn't been working, and it probably won't continue to work. This Islamic scholar, going into that, says no Western country has successfully integrated Muslims. Dutch author and sociologist Ruud Koopmans said this week that Muslims are more difficult to integrate into Western society than other migrant groups. And I don't like the way that's put. Like, they're like dogs trying to be trained. What it means...
That's exactly what they're trying to do in Africa. What Verhofstadt just tweeted out. They want to Westernize people.
Right.
You know, nobody's calling it out like that is like that's a wrong thing. You're not trying to Westernize Pakistan and Iran and whatnot. It's when people come into your society, they have to become part of your society. But here's the thing.
You can't Westernize people. In my opinion, you have to Christianize people. Yeah. And what I mean by that is that the West was built from, the barbarians to through Christianity, and Christianity has had many, many, many rebirths.
Yeah.
And recognizing, well, we did this wrong, let's change.
Yeah.
It is very unlike Islam, who has that had no reforms, no change. There's no change available there.
Right.
Christians and a Christian society is all about, how can I be a better person? How can I treat people better? And when Christians realize, hey, we burn people at the stake, bad idea.
Yeah.
Then now we're like, ooh, that was really bad. But that's not the same for Islam. Okay? And so the ideals of Christianity, which is, love your neighbor, do good to those who spitefully hurt you, the good Samaritan, turn the other cheek, all these great Christian principles. People don't recognize Christianity as the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Jesus was not a warmonger. He didn't go in to take over other countries.
Yeah.
So when you see that, that's not Christian principles enacted. So I wanted to put that out there. You're just trying to get people of all cultures to live by a Christian set of principles.
Yeah.
Which is good principles. In my opinion, is the best principles.
Well, Thomas Jefferson.
Freedom, liberty for all, freedom
Yeah.
to do the right thing, freedom to farm your land, freedom to worship God as you should choose. Christian principles are about freedom to work your land and to be a good neighbor and to love your neighbor and to keep what you earn.
Right.
These are basic, and everything else you can do what you want to do, but you've got to be able to recognize somebody else's right to do the same thing.
How many founding fathers that weren't Christians actually were proponents of Christianity because they recognized, just as a Jordan Peterson does, that Christianity and Christian principles do make up the best sort of society?
Well, Thomas Jefferson is the only one that comes to mind, and Benjamin Franklin
But what I'm saying is, I think that there were many. I mean, you look back and you just...
they're all Christian.
What I'm saying is that anyone that wasn't, practically...
Okay.
They were still proponents because they recognized that a society will fall apart if it doesn't stand on Christian principles.
Right. I just wanted to not give people the false impulse. How many? There weren't very many non-Christians.
No, okay, that wasn't actually it wasn't a question of how many. That was more of it was a redundant statement of there were many that were not professing Christians Like everybody, like
weren't
Leah's
very
saying, there
many,
were
though.
no. You're misunderstanding me.
There's
This is one of those issues. I'm going to let me walk
your-
back my words so that you can understand what I'm saying, because you know I'm right. There were many Christians. Almost every founding father was a Christian. There were many amongst the people that were not Christians. Okay, so let's say there's 95% were Christians. Amongst the 5%, almost all of them believed that the Christian principles were essential for our society. And it's been recognized since Jesus that is the way that functioning societies do best. Regardless, and I hear it all the time from the wise people like a Jordan Peterson who get it. They grasp a hold of it. They're like, listen, I don't care what religion you are, but I'm going to tell you, if I'm going to back and support any religion and I don't even believe in it, it's going to be Christianity because it makes for the best society. Jordan Peterson will come at you and say, listen, I don't know why it works, but it works. People that are on drugs get off drugs because with Jesus Christ, because there is something that happens. People that are sick, they believe in Jesus, they get well, that sort of thing.
Right.
So I'm just saying that it's widely known that Christian principles are the best ones. So you're 100% right. You don't westernize people. You bring Christianity to them.
You just recognize that you need to live according to Christian principles. You don't even have to be a Christian. You have to say, agree to live according to Christian principles.
Hang the Traitor says Christianity is the best way and that is why people want to go to the Christian countries.
So this Koopmans is a professor at the Berlin Social Science Center and author of several books, including Contested Citizenship, Immigration and Cultural Diversity in Europe. He told the Danish newspaper Berlinsk that whereas most groups of migrants integrate relatively quickly, especially from one generation to the next, Islam stands out as an exception. And we see that here in America. We've got little Somalias up there. It's like literally
they start their own countries.
And you have to listen.
And no-go zones.
When it comes to Puerto Rican immigrants, Puerto Rico is part of the United States, so it's not a state. When it comes to South American immigrants, there are those who come and they send money back. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, Mexicans are all Christians, so like they've already integrated into our society. Those who are law-abiding people in general, you can't really tell. There's no difference. They're like, I'm going to be in America. I'm going to live according to your laws. That's what we're going to do. You know what I mean? There's no difference. Although it's not completely absent, and the same thing has happened in Britain with the sheiks, the Indian people coming over. They become British, right?
Right.
Although it's not completely absent in Muslims, the change is much slower, he said, noting that a literal interpretation of the Quran prevents them from integrating into Western countries because their ideals say, hate the Westerner, hate everybody who's not, and that's the literal interpretation of the Quran. Mm-hmm. And we're not allowed to say that because that's Islamophobic. He says, in an earlier publicized study titled Fundamentalism and Out-Group Hostility, Koopmans compared Muslim radicalization with Christian radicalization to better understand why Islam stands out for its isolationism. Almost 60% agree that Muslims should return to the roots of Islam, he said. 75% think there is only one interpretation of the Quran possible to which every Muslim should stick. Koopmans, who has been studying Islam for over 20 years, also found that 65% said that religious rules are more important to them than the laws of the country in which they live. Regarding Christian citizens, on the other hand, Koopman found that fewer than 4% can be characterized as consistent fundamentalists. He says, I conclude that the Islamic world is lagging behind the rest of the world when it comes to democracy and human rights. Yeah. The main problem is how many Muslims and globally how many Muslim countries interpret Islam, namely in a way that basically claims that the Quran and the Sunnah must be taken literally and that the way the Prophet lived in the 7th century must be the yardstick for how Muslims should live in the 21st century. What are you doing on your iPhone? Such a brand of Islam is firstly a threat to world peace. Secondly, it prevents integration. Although it is politically taboo to draw distinctions between ethnic groups when it comes to immigration, some scholars, including Pope Benedict the 16th, it looks like, have urged the West not to assume that all cultures share its basic suppositions about the human person's society. Prior to his election as Pope, Joseph Ratzinger wrote that the interplay of society, politics, and religion has a completely different structure in Islam than it does in the West. Ultimately, he added, much of today's discussion in the West regarding Islam presupposes that all religions have basically the same structure and that they all fit into the same democratic system. He said, the Quran is a total religious law which regulates the whole of political and social life, and it insists that the whole order of life be Islamic. Sharia shapes society from beginning to end. In this sense, it can exploit such partial freedoms as our Constitution gives, but it can't be its final goal to say, yes, now we too are a body with rights. Now we can present just like Catholics and the Protestants. In such a situation, it would not achieve a status consistent with its inner nature. It would be an alienation from itself.
So and that actually hits on exactly what I was sitting here thinking as you were reading that article, and that is this. We want to compare, and I see so many open-minded people out there that want to say, listen, all religion is the same. It doesn't matter. Like an atheist would say, all religions are the same. It doesn't matter what religion you are, yada, yada, yada. That's not true when you compare a religion that literally views anyone that's not part of it as the enemy. Now, if somebody is your enemy, you are hostile to that person.
What's the scripture? I want to give people an idea of Christianity. Be in the world,
but not of it.
But you can be separated as a Christian. We believe our Christian principles cause us to be in the world, but we don't be of the world. It means we don't partake in all the licentiousness and drunkenness and partying. When we say of the world, we say sins. They're the basic morality sins that most people think: drinking, partying, cursing, having sex before marriage. It's all these lewd lying, cheating,
the people
conniving.
that commit those acts, do we view them as our enemy?
No, absolutely not. Because
with hostility.
Paul says you have to be in this world.
Exactly.
He said, and he also says you can judge other Christians. Okay, if a Christian is having sex outside of a marriage, don't eat with them, don't hang out with them.
Right.
But I'm not saying not to do that with you're gonna have to leave the world. Okay, I'm not telling you to judge outside of Christianity. If you want to preach the gospel, you tell people Jesus came and died for your sins. Then you bring them in and you begin to show them, hey, listen, this is how God wants us to live, so we don't hurt ourselves and we don't hurt other people.
So I want to break this down so that you guys can understand literally what I'm trying to say here. When you talk about somebody being your enemy, if I look at, let's take a Jimmy Savile, just comes to mind because we're going to cover Yorkshire here in a second. Jimmy Savile was a perpetrator, evil man, preyed on children. Okay, in my mind, when he gets his just dues, I'm going to rejoice. Why? Because he is my enemy. He is an enemy of society. And when you are an enemy of society, then it is okay internally to be happy when they are brought to justice and they are punished. All right? What happens with the religion that shall not be named is they view everyone that is not a part of their religion as the enemy. So that's why when we see a 9/11 or we see a London Bridge bombing or something like that, the people that are in the religion that shall not be named put the big happy emojis and the big hearts and the big smiley faces when on these live feeds, because they are so happy that bad things have happened to their enemy. And so when you have somebody that views you, we have Ilhan Omar here in the United States, and we have several other religion that shall not be named representatives in Congress, and they view everybody else as the enemy. And that's when it's dangerous in society, because when someone is your enemy, that should make them a bad, evil person that hurts other people. And that it is okay to rejoice at their demise.
So we literally have a difference of opinion of morality of what is bad. And not for all Muslims, but for Islamists who take the Quran seriously.
Right.
Just not being a Muslim makes you an enemy.
Yeah.
For us, it's a moral issue. If you're an axe murderer,
are you
are you
children?
a Ted Bundy? Are you seriously? You're an enemy to all of society.
Yeah.
But then again, we don't take that into our own hands either.
Exactly.
So,
and that's where the lines get crossed.
Right.
With this. So, do you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, I will in just a second. But he said, I wanted to go over this because a researcher blames multiculturalism for rise of Arab clan gangs in Germany. A German Islamist and Islamic and migration researcher, Ralph Gabben, has blamed multicultural ideology for the rise of Arab clan gangs. He says there are no-go zones in Berlin.
No, I agree, yeah.
He said police women are groped, police men are persecuted and besieged. These are law-free areas. The police, men and women, receive threats from Klan members, such as "We know where you live," "We know where your children go to school." Some of these are, empty threats, but they still use them.
Yeah.
And they spread rumors about the police officers. This is these gangs are taking over, and the idea that he's saying that this multiculturalism and bringing the idea of how multiculturalism is great. Multiculturalism is great. My idea of multiculturalism is going to a international festival where I have
Everybody's unique within themselves.
A Turkish dinner, an
Right.
Italian dinner.
Right.
I love multiculturalism. I enjoy other people. I enjoy other cultures. But trying to slam everybody together and just saying that everybody being together is like the best thing ever.
Right.
It's not logical.
Well, I think Michelle Malkin hit the nail on the head when she said multiculturalism is not our strength. Unity is our strength.
Exactly. And it's, I just love Rick Steves, and everybody loves going, as he travels around the world looking at other cultures, right?
Yeah.
But trying to integrate every culture into one thing. But here's the thing. When everybody says multiculturalism, they're literally just saying integrating of Islam. And it's, people get in trouble for saying things like that, but that's what they're saying. So this hit home because one of our dear friends is from Wakefield. And so that's why I put it in the title.
Horatio, yeah.
We don't know if this is a Islamic rape gang or Pakistani gang. We don't know.
It doesn't matter to me at this point because here we have Pizzagate, we have sexual exploitation, we have it coming up from the Mexican border. It's everywhere.
Right.
And it needs to be squashed.
So 19 men and 1 woman have been arrested on suspicion of perpetrating sexual offenses against 2 underage girls in Wakefield, Yorkshire.
Now, I don't think it's limited to those 2, but those are the 2 that they've been
right
at since I think 2016.
Right. Yeah. So the suspects are alleged to have been victimized. To have victimized 2 girls between 2014 and 2016 when they were between 14 and 15. The backgrounds of the suspects and the victims have not been made available for publication, and the exact nature of the alleged offenses first reported in 2016 have not been disclosed at this time. Sarah Champion says, 20 arrested in Wakefield for child sexual exploitation. What will it take to get a national inquiry into why this keeps going on? This large-scale inquiry will be ongoing for some time, and we will update residents with what we can legally and appropriately do so. So we have 20 people. There's more than 2 victims.
Exactly.
But they're only identifying these 2 victims.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah, for sure.
This is a small town. It's not like big city.
Right.
These are traditionally British people, and to have this going under your noses, my heart just went, oh my gosh, I've seen videos and pictures of Yorkshire. Like, it doesn't even, it doesn't enter my mind to be you would think that of London or even Manchester or some city. But when you look at the idealistic, picturesque countryside.
Yeah, Horatio
how
sent this,
is there
I think,
even
for my birthday last year.
Right. How is this even possible? It's
let me make sure that I'm showing this correctly here.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it's beautiful there in Yorkshire. I mean, it's absolutely stunning, and you think, oh, it's old world. Are there any where are these last dying places of these tiny? Look at this. Hang on, these tiny countrysides where people live in nice, quaint little houses and whatnot. Like, oh, it's one of those last places. And yet, even within that, we're seeing such vile, goings on. And here's the deal that, to me, you were wondering, like, oh, is it Muslim rape gangs or whatever?
Well, Sarah Champion, who is a Labour MP, seems to go towards that direction.
But to me, it doesn't even, like I said, it does matter because once you can identify it, then you got to shut it down. But the reason why I brought up like a Pizzagate or, Jimmy Savile or whatever, you need to understand that the rich and powerful prey on children. They rely on these, sex gangs and whatnot. The sex trafficking, the exploitation of these children to get their fix. There's a reason why there's the Lolita Express, that Bill Clinton would fly on. So whether it's the Muslim rape gangs coming in, or I should say Islamist, whatever you want to say, Pakistani, or whether it's a Jimmy Savile.
20 people have been released on bail.
Yeah, they got released immediately, I think. But they're still going to investigate.
We continue to urge all victims of sexual abuse, whether recent or historic, to report to the police. So,
this is, it's good news, right? That they have done this bust, as it were.
Yeah, but everybody's pretty. It's disconcerting to have everybody be so PC.
Numb. Oh, okay.
To see we have to be careful with what we say and how we say it because it doesn't seem like many people are talking about it. You just have the Yorkshire police say 20 people arrested in connection with child sex abuse. That's it.
Wow.
So,
but that's so huge in a
talking
small
about
town.
it.
I mean, I don't know how big Wakefield is. Horatio's not here to ask, but it's not. From what I understand, it's not that big. I'm thinking like we live near Cincinnati. Okay, we live in a city outside of it, but if it were to, if something like that were to be happening in our hometown,
right,
it would blow everybody's minds.
Yeah. So I wanted to get that out there because nobody else seems to be talking about it. So I wanted to put it in my title.
Right.
Now, one more thing. Shamina Begum.
Oh my gosh.
Her daughter, her baby died.
I know.
And now that's creating this big to-do happening. They're now blaming the UK government this week after her 3-week-old baby died, reportedly of pneumonia, in the wartime conditions of northern Syria refugee camp, in which they were stuck after fleeing the Islamic State enclave and now besieged Baghuz. In media interviews, British ISIS bride Begum has blamed everyone but herself for her dire plight, and while expressing some minor regrets over traveling to Syria, still extolled that the good life under ISIS and noted that she had been inspired by ISIS beheading videos. She said, "I wasn't bothered by them." The opposition Labour Party has called the infant's death, the third child of Begum's to have died since she joined the Islamic State, morally reprehensible, while one ruling Conservative Party lawmaker called it a stain on the conscience of the government.
Oh my gosh.
However, as Rodgers reports, the decision to strip the woman of her UK citizenship was popular among the British citizens.
Does it say how the child died?
Pneumonia.
Okay.
Pneumonia. 3 weeks old pneumonia. She left. She went to Syria to fight for ISIS. She's in a war, and she's blaming the UK government because her baby died. She had 2 other kids already die, and was that the fault of the UK government? No, it was her fault.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this because Patriot Guy would want me to put this out there. She's brainwashed. She's mentally deranged. So if you were to bring her back, she'd have to be locked up in some sort of asylum for the rest of her life.
Yeah, but then the UK people have to pay for that.
I know. So it's a conundrum. When you leave, when you're brainwashed to leave to go fight for and kill people, and beheadings don't bother you, you know, seriously, I'm not at this point of a rock and a hard place here. I am sorry that the baby died. I don't want a baby to die, but it's the fault of ISIS. It's the fault of whatever. This is a video of
but although it's also the fault of the UK for allowing this to happen. They allow these people to come in and to brainwash people, and then you know what I'm saying? Like,
how was she brainwashed?
Exactly.
This is a video of ISIS wives throwing bottles with drinking water in them back at the, I'm not sure who the SDF member is, but probably a humanitarian member. Earlier, these bottles were given to them and their children to quench their thirst. However, they didn't even use the water.
Wow.
I can't. It's
insane. It is insanity.
It's not sane.
I know we say that all the time on this show, but we're very limited on our English language.
So Piers Morgan says, Begum spent 4 years actively supporting ISIS, the world's most barbaric and inhumane terrorist organization. Her 3 children all died because she chose to bring them into the despicable world she chose for herself. To now blame Britain, the country she denounced, is disgusting. So.
Wow.
There you have it.
Is that the show?
Yeah, it's kind of sad to end on. So let me end on like a good little video here talking about ISIS.
Wait, you don't press play.
Okay, well, it doesn't really need volume too much, but go ahead. Okay. The first time they made me wear it, I felt like I was being suffocated. This Yazidi woman was sold as a sex slave and was burned, and she burned her veil as she left Baghuz. This is the same place that was just destroyed. This is the properly good video. Now these Kurds, it's hilarious. I love these Kurdish fighting women who I saw the videos of, but they're like communists. So yeah. Anyways, I appreciate the women for fighting. I believe maybe they might be a little bit brainwashed by the communist ideology, but still, on the scale of 1 to 10, I'm gonna take these women every day.
Okay.
They're fighting for.
Well, this isn't gonna connect. It doesn't sound like. I don't know if you have volume or not.
Let's see.
Your Bluetooth icon is gone.
Gone. All right. So, yeah, just turn that up as. She was sold as a sex slave. Now she's free. For the first time, they made me wear it. I felt like I was being suffocated. It bothered me a lot. I didn't want to wear it, but they wouldn't let me. They said everyone is wearing it. New latest fashion time. Every time she was alone, she took it off. They said, don't go outside without it. Don't appear around men like this. Every time they leave her, she'd take it off. She burned it and she's finished with it, thank God. I wish I could bring Daesh and burn them like I burned my clothes. We all left together. We left yesterday. The brothers said the car is ready to get in. They asked me, do you want to go? The man you are with is not here. I said, yes, I want to leave. And he told me, you are free. You can go to your family. Wherever you want to go, go. I prepared myself and I left with them. When we arrived in the night, I slipped away from them. And then she handed herself over to the Kurds.
Wow. So. Good for her.
Yeah. So it's not, I just wanted to point that out because.
But there are people out there that are literally fighting. Like you said, you're going to be okay, maybe they're communists, but still, I mean, there are lessers of two evils here. And so it should bring you hope that there are, even though you're stuck wherever you're stuck at, and we're stuck here in the United States.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that are on the front lines taking care of people like this, and I think that should warm your heart.
So maybe those are Yazidi fighters, but I'm gonna play this. Meet the Yazidi women getting revenge on ISIL, by fighting them in Raqqa. Let's see. This woman was a sex slave who was trafficked from Iraq into Syria. She escaped and joined the all-women Kurdish rebel group. I came to Raqqa when the offensive on the city started. I wanted to participate in this campaign for our mothers and Yazidi girls.
Wow.
Who were sold here in the streets. In Raqqa, the goal is to liberate them, but also to avenge them. The Shengal Women's Unit, the YPS, is one of the world's few all-women combat units.
Wow.
Hazza joined to avenge the deaths and kidnappings of thousands of Yazidis during the Sinara massacre of 2014. We were taken to prison, and then they took us to Raqqa. The jihadis would choose us and take us for themselves. Some of them sold us. They've displaced the Yazidi girls and women. Hazza's sister is still in captivity.
Wow.
Along with 3,000 other Yazidi women.
Wow.
And there goes my computer.
Oh, well, that's, okay. That must be God's way of saying, all right, we're at an hour and 57 minutes, almost 58, so we're at our 2-hour mark.
We need a song.
Happy birthday to you. Tomorrow is your birthday too. And everybody watching really loves you. Happy birthday.
Nice. You know what song just came to my head? What Wondrous Love Is If. I know I sing it all the time. Okay. I like that song.
All right.
I had another song I wrote down.
They keep playing on the hymn. One of our favorite stations on Pandora is Hymn in C, instrumental. Mm-hmm. If you guys want to listen to what we're listening to almost all the time, that's it. But they do come up on there a lot, different songs, and then I forget them too.
I write them down.
What was the one last night that we were singing?
Well, we didn't learn it. We just liked the tune to it. Brethren or something.
Oh, no, not that. No, the one you were asking Matt.
Oh. I can't remember.
What wondrous love is this, oh my soul, oh my soul. What wondrous love is this, oh my soul. What wondrous love is this that caused the Lord of bliss to bear the dreadful curse for my soul, for my soul. To bear the dreadful curse for my soul.
Who knows? Turn it off, right?
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
That was
what you
this
got playing
still playing.
there. All right. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down, sinking down. When I was sinking down beneath God's righteous crown, Christ laid aside his frown for my soul, for my soul. That's crown. Christ laid aside his crown for my soul. To God and to the Lamb I will sing, I will sing. To God and to the Lamb I will sing. To God and to the Lamb who is the great I am. While millions join the theme, I will sing, I will sing. While millions join the theme, I will sing. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing on, I'll sing on. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing on. And when from death I'm free, I'll sing and joyful be. And through eternity, I'll sing on, I'll sing on. And to eternity, I'll sing on. It's really bothering me. I can't remember what that song was last night that we were singing. We asked Kansas, because we grew up with all these songs. And so when you listen to the instrumental hymns, they mean something because you're hearing the words in your head. And you were asking Kansas, because he didn't grow up really in the church with those kinds of songs. And he was like, no, I actually don't know that song. And it was just a regular, you know,
you're not going to
song.
just find it by hitting.
I know.
hymns.
The one that we were singing last night was about the manna.
Yeah, that one we don't really know.
No, we'll have to sing that another time.
There was also another, there was a Michael W. Smith song we were singing too last night.
That's the Promise, not from the Promise, is it?
Yeah, I think so. No, was it? We really need to start.
My hope is built on. I love that song. Nothing less. Rock of Ages, cleft for me.
A mighty fortress is our God.
Where's the words for
A
that?
bulwark never failing.
You need to bring that
That
up.
I know.
That's a really difficult song to sing.
I know. It is.
Nope.
Our helper, it is he.
Oh, that's really good.
We'll work on some later.
I'm just looking up any of these.
He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. I will praise him. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. I will praise his name. He is the Lord, forever his truth shall reign. Heaven and earth rejoice in his holy name. He is exalted, the King is exalted on high. I don't know how the rest is.
That's it. I think those are just the same words over and over
really?
again.
That's it?
I think so. Yeah.
Over and over again.
I think that it is.
Why is that it? That's it.
I don't know.
I love that song.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it.
Didn't Sandy Patty do that one?
Yeah, I don't know.
We grew up on a lot of these songs, and for some reason I sing them when they come up on the hymns, and I don't write them down. But
I know.
Nothing
We will.
comes to
We'll
mind.
start writing it down.
We keep telling that to everybody, but it doesn't really happen.
There has got to be more to that song.
Let's see what we have here. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to the sun above.
You have to, if you're gonna sing it, you're singing
Melt
it.
the
You started
clouds
it.
of sin and
You gotta bring it up.
Drive the dark of doubt away. Give her all the immortal gladness. Fill us with the light of day. Remember how we said we were going to work on that and then we never did?
Yeah, but see, you can't. See,
I
that's the
know.
old way. You have to. You can't mix the two. You just gotta go full on and just sing
it
it.
messes with my head.
But you know how you sing it around the house. That's how you're gonna sing it.
Right. No, let's do another one.
No, I'm out.
You're out of it.
Yeah.
I tried, Lord.
No, you didn't. Not really.
I did try.
No, try more.
Oh.
So this song came to mind the other day.
Okay, that's a good one.
Lord, the light of your love is shining in the midst of your darkness shining. Jesus, light of the world, shine upon us. Set us free by the truth you now bring us. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, Lord, and let there be light. Lord, I come into your awesome presence. From the shadows into your radiance. By the blood I may enter your brightness. Search me, try me, consume all my darkness. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth your word, Lord, and let there be light. As we gaze on your kindly brightness, so our faces display your likeness, ever changing from glory to glory. Mirrored here, may our lives tell your story. Shine on me. Shine on me. Shine, Jesus, shine. Fill this land with the Father's glory. Blaze, Spirit, blaze. Set our hearts on fire. Flow, river, flow. Flood the nations with grace and mercy. Send forth the word, Lord, and let there be light.
That was a good pick.
Yeah, just came to me.
Good job.
I know.
All right.
1962.
I think it was they were saying that Twyla Paris had written the other song. I said Sandy Patty. We grew up on all the old good stuff.
I know. Everybody listens to new songs. We're like old school, man.
I know.
We're old school.
Yeah, but it was good stuff. You know who I love?
I want to sing Crystal Lewis's song.
Which one?
The one we were singing in the car.
Which one?
The song about how you turn your oil to gladness. He takes beauty for
ashes, strength for
we never even practiced that. I wanted to.
Gladness for mourning, peace for despair. He gives beauty for ashes. You know, when I was a kid, I thought the lyrics were beauty for rashes because I didn't know the scripture. And it made sense in my head. Like, if you have rashes, God will give you beauty.
Oh my word.
It makes total sense.
Okay, there's a scripture about that.
I know.
That's what it was.
But I didn't know that there was a scripture. I just knew that that's what would make sense.
So that is the whole song. We don't know that part. But God has found me. I was found, but He set me free.
Oh, that just strummed your guitar for you. We can practice it and bring it back to him.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do that. We're going to sign off here, and we're going to see you back this week. I haven't gone to the post office to pick up anything else for a mail call for you, so I can't promise them that there will be a mail call birthday show tomorrow, but maybe on Tuesday or something. How about that?
We'll see. Yeah, we can make it happen.
All right. We love you. God loves you. God bless. Remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory. If it's actually the truth, Leah actually is not over.
No, go ahead.
Oh, we're gonna practice after we sign off.
Now I'm curious to see if it's this thing.
All right. Okay, so hey Michelle, play Emily Sandy read all it about it Tommy tribute song.
Aww.
Again, I'm worried about playing things now that might give me a copyright strike, so I'll have to look that up. And also, Britt keeps asking us to do, and you've been asking us to do this for 2 years, to do an episode on the Kalargi plan. You have to do it when it's in you. So when it gets in us, and if it gets in us, then you know we will do a show. That's why we did things on IG Farben and so forth. So that may be on the docket at some point. I can't promise one way or the other, but it's definitely on our radar. Boss Taurus says, happy birthday, Leah, just in case no video tomorrow.
Thanks, guys. That's really nice of you.
All right, you guys, we love you. God loves you. God bless. And remember, it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. Like and comment and subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring the bell for notifications. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. We love you. God loves you. God bless. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Just gonna stop.
No, well, they said Jasper needs us. Happy birthday,
You're
Leah.
right. I do need to go check on her. Thanks, guys.
But guys, the rest of this month is, I think, going to be pretty exciting. Especially with Brexit going on. There's so much happening with Tommy's trial. So we'll be back. We will be here.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
I was cold.